Alright, I'm going to tie a traditional zonker pattern. When I tie a zonker, I usually will go along and cut some rabbit strips initially that are about the length I want to use, and have all that ready to begin with. All that saves you a lot of time. This particular one I'm going to tie on this is a number 8 2x long shank hook. You can tie it on a regular number 8 if you want to. I want this pattern to be a little bit longer. I'm going to start off, I'm going to make this particular one chartreuse and purple, so I'm going to go ahead and use my chartreuse tying thread. Start in here. I want to make a wrap that goes all the way down the fly. If you hold this like this, as you wind in behind it, it will just lay right down next to the previous wrap, and you just spiral wrap the body like this. Clip that off. From here, I'm just going to wind forward. I want a good coat of the windings, what I call an underlayment, a good underlayment underneath where I'm going to put my other materials. This makes your whole fly last a lot better. You start off here and add just a bit of super glue or whatever your favorite head cement is up under here. That'll take a few minutes to dry. While that's setting up, I'm going to come and take, in this case I'm going to take a piece of copper wire. I'm going to take the copper wire and I'm going to lay a piece on top of the body this way and just catch it on top of the shank of the hook and wind it down. I'm not worried about the weight on this fly, so I'm going to leave a little extra under there. And I'm just going to pull that back out of the way. Now, to add a little color or a little flash to the tail, we can use some materials like, this is copper flashabou, this is, it's called red, and one of my very favorites is holographic tinsel. Holographic tinsel has so much flash in the water, it really has the appearance of a fish in the water, or a bait fish moving in the water. So I'm only going to take maybe just a few pieces of it, just a few strands. We'll say 4 or 5. Kind of a beat up looking one there, maybe 2 or 3 like that. That'll be fine. Put that right on top of the hook, soft loop to catch it here, and then bind it down, and just wind over the tails of it. I won't worry about trimming it off too much. I like this to kind of stay on top of the hook shank, so I'm kind of going to bind it like that. Now this is just a little extra flash in the water. Now for underneath here, we can make the body a variety of different ways. If you wanted to weight it, you could come in and weight it with some non-lead wire. If you do that, I'd put maybe 10 wraps, 8 or 10 wraps of wire, just depends. How deep you're wanting to fish this. Where I'm usually fishing this, I'm trying to fish it over suspended moss beds that are, say, a foot or 2 underwater, so I really don't want it to go very deep. So I usually make mine not weighted. It depends on where I'm fishing them and what I'm fishing them for. This particular one I'm making it is more of a bass fly. From here I'm going to catch that with another soft loop like that and catch that tail. What I've done here, this is a piece of chartreuse chenille. I've gone to the very tip of it and taken the tip of my scissors and just cleaned that fuzz off there so that I have just the threads to bind to. That keeps it at the point where you tie it in from having a big lump. Okay. From here, I'm going to wind forward here, and I'm going to wind this in like this. Now if you want to, you can use hackle pliers. When you get to the very end, it's usually helpful. Sometimes I grab them and other times I just go by hand. Okay, from here that looks about right. I'm going to loop it here, make it, pull it up this way, starts to bind it in like that. Okay? Come in behind it with your scissors, nip that off, and go ahead and put a couple extra wraps there to hold it down good. From here I'm going to take the Zonker strip, I'm going to come to the very front of the fly here, and I want just the very tip of the hide coming almost to the tip of the eye, right here to the eye of the hook, to the tip of the hook. Catch it here, another soft loop, kind of straighten it up a little bit if you need to. You want it to lay right up on top of the hook. And then you can go ahead and bind that down. And I tighten it up a little bit more each time I wrap. Now, if you have some razor scissors, some really good little sharp scissors, you can kind of come in here and just clean up those little hairs that are there. Now from here, you see we still have our wire back here. So we can take this, hold the strip back, take the wire and slip the wire through just at the level of the hide and pull it down. And we can use that to actually bind the hide down. And we're going to come around and stick it right through here again, and wind it down. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. When you get up here, you can take a tool like this. This is nothing but just a very fine comb, and you can reach in this way, pull it, the hairs this way, bind it this way, and then comb over it, and that threads the hairs back through it that way. And bind it in, do the same thing here again, pull that through, kind of come like that. You see that'll clean up all those hairs out of there like that, and you can bind it down again. One more time, bind it in here. One more time, bind it in here, and then we're going to wrap it right to the front of the hook here and put about 2 or 3 nice tight turns with the wire. Now I'm going to use, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and use my little diagonal pliers to nip the wire, and I'm going to bend the tail of the wire down, and I'm going to hold all these fibers back, and I'm going to wind over this until I've completely covered the wire at the front. Extend your thread, come in behind it here, there's your whip finish. As you'll do 4 or 5 turns, just depending. Pull it down nice and taut. Take your scissors. You can reach right here and just use the blade of the scissors and slice it off like that. Sometimes when you tie these down, initially right here, you'll catch maybe a few more fibers than you intended to. So you use your little comb and you reach in and you pull them out like that. Now what we have is a wire wrapped body, and it causes it to look very segmented. Actually, when this is in the water, it'll even look more segmented, and has a profile that really gives it the appearance of a fish or a small bait fish. That's a traditional Zonker, unweighted, with a chenille body and a little flashaboo holographic type tinsel for a tail.